Welcome back. Break time is slowly over. We have one more talk, and then we have closing notes. I got some suggestions for after-party material. We'll be tweeting that out a little bit later on. So our next speaker is Amr. He is one of the organizers of last year's Yuruko. He works as a senior software engineer at Motomoto and is also a Rails Girls mentor. Amr?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, when I was at high school, I took this course about presentation skills. And you know, this course basically goes through every part of presentation, so the introduction, the body, and so on. And there is this specific section in presentation skills that I love, which is called the attention grabber or the attention getter. For those of you who don't know what is that, is basically the ability of the speaker to attract everyone in the room attention through, I don't know, popping a question or telling a story or whatsoever. Throughout my whole life, I decided that I need to use unusual attention grabbers, right? So I always built like fancy props to attract people attention. And then I moved to Europe and something super weird happened. I realized that the fact of being a brown person, having a curly hair, being a fat person on stage is enough of an attention getter and not just on the stage. Yeah. So I'm Amr Abdul Wahab. It's a very hard name, I know. This is my handle. I'm a senior software engineer at a company that you might know as Motomoto, the Cloakroom, Curated Shopping Group. If you don't know it, you can ask me later as well. I'm honored to be for the third time in a row on Euroko stage, actually. Every time was in a different role. So in Euroko 2016, I was pitching Budapest to be the host city. In Euroko 2017, I was the chair organizer. And I just want to use this chance to thank Euroko and to thank the community, actually, because it was one of the things that impacted my life the most, especially in technology. I was born and raised in Cairo, in Egypt. And then I moved to Budapest in 2013. And recently I moved to Berlin. Yeah. Okay, why am I giving this talk and why me? It's very important to say this is not going to be an expert talk. I'm not an expert on this matter. This is more of a talk from the heart of one of your fellow developers. This talk might seem irrelevant to some of you, right? Because always social talks are considered irrelevant on these stages. I want you to know that it's actually impacting the lives of me, myself, and hundreds or thousands of your fellow developers, so it's actually very relevant to what we do. So why me? Why is it me, the guy standing here and giving this talk? I have a very, very privileged background where I was born and raised. I belong to the kind of middle to high class family in Egypt. My parents are Muslim, so I belong to the majority in my country. Surprisingly, I belong to the lighter shade of black in my country, and unfortunately being more black in my country, which is still in Africa, is still an underprivilege. I am a cisgender, straight male. And in the past, when I used to live in Egypt, when someone from my Christian friends or the LGBT friends or the female friends started to confront me with something, I always felt this sympathy. I felt bad. I felt sad. But somehow deep inside me, I had this question: why are those people so sensitive about it? Why are they overdoing this thing? Somehow I started to ask, like, why are they making this big fuss? Why, wherever we go, everywhere, they're just talking about this topic, right? And to be honest, I fell a lot for the common fallacious arguments that people use. And then I moved to Europe, and that was an eye-opening experience. Because suddenly, from one day to the other, I started to face this kind of daily actions of people looking down to me. Somehow I need to do 10 more times effort than any other fellow white European developer to achieve exactly the same result. I was facing what I now call racist behaviors everywhere, all over the times. And the first thing that popped to my mind, is it me who is becoming an oversensitive person? Oh, am I doing something wrong? Maybe I cannot fit into this group or something. And that's when I decided that maybe I should do more readings about the topic. Maybe I should start to research, listen to people. And that's when I realized that my whole life I was missing a context. I decided that this is a very important thing, that I should speak to individuals who unintentionally, and I insist on this, unintentionally damage their peers, because if you are intentionally damaging anyone, please leave this room. I will try to add as much context as I can to this topic, so maybe it helps you understand. Yeah, this talk will go through several parts. In the beginning, I will try to introduce what is privilege. I will try to give some context to common arguments against all the diversity efforts, right? And then I will give a very pragmatic description of why is diversity important for your products, for your development, for your design, for whatsoever. So, I will do a very, very, very bad thing that people do in presentations and I don't like. I will put a Wikipedia definition on thing and I will read it so slowly and so loudly, hoping that you follow me. What is privilege? It is a noun. It means a special right or advantage or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group. But yeah. First of all, Wikipedia definitions, all the dictionary definitions are not relevant in social contexts. So when you speak about political terms, please don't use like normal translations or dictionary translations. So I decided to come up with some sort of a very simplified, silly example to give you an example what is a privilege, right? So let's together calculate our privilege scores. Please add 1 to your privilege score if you can post any post on social media without ending up in jail, murdered, in exile. It's very important to note that in my country, this is not a normal thing. Actually, the fact of me having this slide here is going to cost me something that I don't hope for any one of you to have. Add 1 to yourself if you can just confess your love to someone without getting murdered for it. I add 1 for myself because I'm a straight person, right? But if you are a gay person somewhere around the world at the moment, you can suffer, you can get murdered for that, you can get prosecuted for that. This is a privilege that you need to be aware of. Oh yeah, this is a very relevant topic. So in Europe, especially, I attended so many conferences where people were speaking about digital nomading, remote work, and so on and so on. Well, the fact is, give me a visa and I will do that, right? This is a privilege that you can travel anywhere, anytime you want. The fact that we are all in this room is a sign of privilege because there are other people that wanted to come and couldn't get their visas. One other example is, do you always get selected in the random checks of the airports? Because if you have your Muhammad in your name, that's enough to get selected in almost every airport selection. I can go on with this list until tomorrow, but I just decided to cut it down to those 4 examples. So to sum it up, privilege is something that's not set in stone. For example, as I mentioned, belonging to the Muslim community in Egypt is a privilege. Belonging to the Muslim community in Europe is not a privilege anymore. So the fact is, privilege is something that is super coupled to its context. As long as it's in this specific context, it's a privilege, it can be an underprivilege somewhere else. Privileges are something that is super intersectional. So you cannot compare, you shouldn't compare privileges. So I'm sorry for this +1 thing. It was just to elaborate on that. So a white woman is more privileged than a black woman. And a white male is more privileged than both. Privilege is something that intersects. The most important thing is that privilege is not a necessarily evil thing. When I tell you you are privileged, I'm not cursing you. In fact, all I'm saying here is that you are supposed to have some extra duties. Being privileged adds some extra duties for you. But wait, I simply did nothing wrong. Why am I expected to do more efforts? And here, let's take us to our world of coding. Who here is maintaining some legacy code base? I mean, I assume almost everyone in the room. When you inherit some project from someone, you know that the previous developers have done their best to keep this project the best, right? But in some situations, they got some incomplete, they had to build something that's hacky and incomplete because the business said, oh, you have a deadline, you have to finish it on that day, right? Sometimes you also took some wrong decisions because you do not know the future. It happens to all of us. Sometimes you just went to a conference, someone said use MongoDB and you just started to use it, right? It just happens. At the end, that introduces what we all here call a technical debt. And if you think about it, when you have a technical debt, you cannot simply ignore that past mistakes. It doesn't work like that. You cannot say, I will just rewrite everything from the beginning because you will end up rewriting your application once every week. The way you deal with technical debt is you keep shipping, but you are mindful about the past. You are taking steps, gradual steps to change that fact, right? Now let's imagine together we have a 200,000 years old project. It had billions of developers, and unlike your teams, not all of those developers had the best intentions, I can assure you that. Everything in this project is super coupled. So whenever you do something, you can damage 1 million parts. Everything is so complex as well, right? No one can understand it that easily. This is horribly documented. Everyone writes their own understanding into a documentation. And it's not secure at all. In fact, it's not automated. You cannot test the thing. You're not confident enough that when you do something, you're breaking something or not. And obviously, you all understand that we have this project already, and we call it humanity, and we are all maintaining that. So we actually have to be mindful before moving on. Okay. One last thing about the definition is that our industry has this, something I don't like, which we call the tendency to decontextualize things. It is natural when we speak about code that we speak about things like the single responsibility principle. We want to build things that are living, doing one thing, doesn't care about what's happening around it, which is good in code, right? We want to build isolated, decoupled services that doesn't know nothing about its context. It's just this service does that one thing, and it doesn't care where it's deployed or whatsoever. We want to build technology agnostic, framework agnostic, platform agnostic. I can put anything beside this agnostic and you will like it, actually. So it is important to note that this concept doesn't apply on everything else except maybe our code bases. This concept, especially when it comes to social sciences and politics, context is necessary to understand anything. Actually, to do anything without context, you cannot understand what you're talking about. So let's stop thinking about politics as we think about a code base, because it doesn't work like that. Okay. In this section, I will just try to go through a bunch of arguments that I see so commonly used to argue against everything in that part. And it's very important to note that sometimes it can come from marginalized people as well. And I can give you a long other talk about why would someone who is underprivileged support the other side, but that's not our topic now. The first common argument is intention versus impact. So whenever a person of color, or at least my experience, whenever I complain to someone, someone would come to me and say, but he didn't mean it, come on, what do you think? Well, the fact of he meaning it or not meaning it is so irrelevant when it comes to damaging people. Let's take this good example. You go to a park and you're throwing a frisbee, it hits someone's face, they have concussion, you didn't mean it, but you still hurt them. And you still need to apologize, and you still need to take action to help that person. So intentions doesn't matter. Now let's focus on the other side. So you're trying to do something good. You are mentoring a Trails girls, or you're offering a diversity quota at your company or whatsoever. Intentions here matter a lot, actually. Because I believe that so many people are doing things that are good in nature, but they don't understand exactly why are they doing that. So they actually end up adding more damage than actually helping and fixing the problem. So please try to read and try to understand why are you doing something. Okay. The second one is the argument of all lives matter. To give a background, in the US, there was some sort of a campaign against the police brutality against the black people. And so, of course, the right-wing people started responding with something like, all lives matter, not just the black people. So what this is trying to say is that the Black Lives Matter was about suggesting that people were saying that black lives matter more than the others, which is not the truth, actually. What people were trying to say was that black people's life are currently in a bad state. They are relatively undervalued compared to white people. It's more likely, that's a statistics, that's a fact. It's more likely to have your life ended by the police if you're American and black. We were just trying to recognize the inequity in the society and just push to change that. Perhaps a better way to say this campaign would have been Black Lives Matter too. And yeah, all lives obviously matter. This is something we don't even need to discuss, but there is currently one subset of these lives that's undervalued. Maybe this is a better way to explain this. Okay, everyone, it's done. So why am I saying this? This is a very American political thing, because actually this applies in so many contexts. I have seen so many people arguing against people complaining by saying we are all under the same oppression. No, you are not. So this is very important to note, like when someone is pointing out a problem, stop putting yourself in the same bucket, because you are simply not. Okay, I will leave you with this nice video about the concept of microaggressions. If it works. Yeah.
For people who still don't think that microaggressions are a problem,
Oh, you're so well spoken.
just imagine instead of being a stupid comment, a microaggression is a mosquito bite.
Ugh, it's a compliment.
Mosquito bites and their itch are one of nature's most annoying features. But if you're only bitten every once in a while,
No, where are you really from?
Cleveland?
sure, it's annoying, but it's not that big a deal. The problem is that some people get bitten by mosquitoes a lot more than other people. I mean, a lot more. Whether it's on a date,
Oh, your English is so good.
Excuse me?
going grocery shopping,
You know, everything happens for a reason.
I'm just buying apples.
commuting to work,
So when are you gonna have a baby?
watching TV,
We have to keep the Redskins name. It's part of our culture and history.
or just walking down the street with your partner.
I couldn't even tell you were gay.
Mosquitoes seem to pop up everywhere.
Do you know John? Give me shopping advice. I love Cher too.
And getting bit by mosquitoes every goddamn day,
Can I touch your hair?
multiple times a day,
So pretty. Can
Can I
touch
touch
your
it,
hair?
please? Can I please?
is fucking annoying. And makes you want to go ballistic on those mosquitoes, which seems like a huge overreaction to people who only get bit every once in a while.
It's just a mosquito bite. Who cares?
Just another angry black woman.
Of course, beyond just being annoying, some mosquitoes carry truly threatening diseases that can mess up your life for years.
Astrophysics? Maybe you should try less challenging, Major.
Ow, my dreams.
And other mosquitoes carry strains that can even kill you.
He looked like he was up to trouble, okay? I felt threatened.
So next time you think someone's overreacting, just remember, some people experience mosquito bites all the time.
Just remember, some people experience mosquito bites all the time. This is a very important talk. Okay, this is related to one thing that the great talk from Coraline mentioned yesterday about the concept of reverse discrimination. So there is no such thing as reverse discrimination. That's just a simple concept that we can also have another talk on at some point, but I wanted to point out this tweet here. This person said that being a straight heterosexual male on Twitter in 2018 is harder than it was being openly homosexual in America in the 1960s. Well, I don't know what's next. I mean, are we expecting white supremacists to start to say that it's harder for them now than the Jewish people in the 1930s? This is crazy, right? And this is a very good example of decontextualized privilege. Actually, I have never ever in my whole life heard of a person murdered or arrested because of the fact of being straight or a straight male. This will never happen at any point. So if you know someone, please mention that to me. So it's important to mention, it's not oppression, it will never be considered sexism or racism without having a privilege attached to it. So there is no such thing as like racism against a white person. There's no such thing as sexist against a male. That just doesn't exist. It cannot be like that without a historical baggage, something that happened in the history that still happens that caused this kind of power imbalance. So the most important factor is power imbalance. You never hear, for example, football fans calling each other the oppressive against each other because they have the same level of power. To sum it up, we are not trying to... Well, it's good? Oh yeah. Yeah, to sum it up, we don't seek equality, but we seek equity and liberation. Okay, let's look at this photo here. We are currently in this state, and if we give everyone a box, we will never reach anywhere. We first want to start with equity. We first want to push the society to be balanced, and then maybe at the end we should all together hit that wall and knock it down. Okay, that was it about the ethical part, the moral part, but let's focus, is it only a question of ethics, what I'm talking about here? In fact, in a very, very pragmatic sense, you can never, ever build a sound, complete product without caring about diversity. And in my next slides, I will try to give you some examples of that. The famous last name issue, as I like to call it. So if I ask anyone here, how do you usually model users in the Rails world, in the web world? This is usually the answer. You always get something like first name, last name, email, password, and so on. There is some sort of an implicit assumption here that every person, every user that will use your application will have a first and a last name, right? This assumption is a very good example of what is called the false consensus effect. The false consensus effect is some sort of a cognitive bias where people tend to believe that everyone else have the same habits, have the same thoughts. Everyone else is almost the same as yourself. Let me give you a very nice surprise. I do not have a last name. And actually, so as 100 million Egyptians, because we don't have the same concept of naming in my country. So as much as this might seem a very trivial issue, as much as this weird. Okay, that's fine. As much as this might seem As much as this might seem like a very trivial issue, well, it's not, because this has caused me lots of problems in the past. Whenever I want to open a bank account, whenever I want to do whatever, I always had to suffer with this problem of what should be my last name, because every country in Europe decided to give me a different last name. There is an amazing GitHub repo called the Awesome Falsehoods of Programming, where it lists a lot of common mistakes that all of us as developers do that excludes a lot of people. Here is the link if you would like to take a photo, actually. Okay. My second topic is what I like to call the racist camera phenomenon. So if you go to the internet at any moment, you will find loads of videos speaking about the concept of cameras and race at the moment. There is this super famous video of the HP face tracking. Did anyone see it here? So that video shows a black guy standing in front of this face tracking algorithm of HP, and obviously the camera was not following him, but it only follows white people. Maybe this is another example. Nikon here, when it sees an Asian person, it points out something like, did someone blink? But how? I mean, how did that happen? I don't believe that technology is racist, right? The technology is technology. It's not, doesn't have feelings. Well, the story starts with this fine lady here, which we call Shirley. She used to be the model of Kodak in the 50s. And that card there was the reference card for the colors of Kodak in the 50s. And that happened intentionally. That was not something that they did like unintentionally, but because for them, and it made sense at that point, which black person would afford to buy a camera anyways, right? So they decided, okay, let's remove some colors from the entire film chemistry because it doesn't really make sense to make it more expensive. And even though we are 60, 70 years later now, this bias still has its implications on our modern day cameras. I mean, I know that there are a lot of efforts put into that thing to improve it, but it still has its own implications. One other example is the case of mysterious sexist airbags. I don't know how many of you knows that information, but when airbags were first released, it took a few years to realize that more women and children were dying because of airbags. Because, obviously, it's again bias, because it was all male engineer teams that decided to use the standard heights and weights among them to prepare test dummies and test this, which led to a very tragic outcome and led to actually a void product. This is a product that's not functioning, it's not doing its job, right? And even that today, in 2018, this is still the case for children. So children are not really safe with airbags as much as women and men. Okay. These were some examples. Again, I can go forever pointing out examples from almost every industry where diversity had a clear impact on the outcome. It's important that we should think about inclusion on every step. And it's important to know that without having a diverse team, you will not be able to think about inclusion because of this bias that I mentioned. So you need someone from almost everywhere to think about things. And I would like to point out the talk about the color blindness from yesterday. It was amazing. See, you need to think about it when you're designing something. You need to think about it when you're developing something, when you're testing something, when you're even writing the requirements, and when you're hiring. Okay, what to do now? You are speaking a lot about these things. As I mentioned, I am not an expert, so the first thing you should do is hire a diversity professional. They exist. There is such people. You can pay them, they can come and help you and educate you. But it's important also to try to listen to your underprivileged employees as a company when they complain about things. Don't dismiss people. You have to be sure to guarantee a very open and transparent communication framework for such issues. As an employee, as us, a very important thing to note is that being a software engineer is on its own a privilege. I know that anyone in this room, or at least 99% of the people in this room, can leave their job tomorrow and find a job next week. It's very easy. So you have this privilege, please use it. Quit when you see something wrong, right? This is a very candidate-driven market. So in the first place, being a privileged white male in our industry, please listen when people do complain about things or do talks like that, and stop saying things like, oh, they are overdoing this, they are overreacting to things. Just try to listen, because trust me, not all of us are that stupid. We are smart people as well. We are your colleagues. Do your homework. Please go and read about the topic and try to research before you just follow what other people say. Oh yeah, this is reverse sexism. I don't believe in it. Whatever. Just do your homework before you do this. Kind of say these things. When you see something wrong, please speak up. Please use your privilege and please speak up. Obviously, we have to support all the diversity-related initiatives, right? And I'm not just talking about Women Who Code or Rails Girls or Django Girls. There are plenty of other initiatives that are in that direction that target, I don't know, Hispanic people in the US, that targets black people around the world, refugees. There are plenty of these. Let's just invest into supporting these initiatives. Write blog posts about the topic to make it simpler to understand. And stop also a bit having a moral judgment on people, but try to explain in a more logical sense. Speak in conferences, go to meetups, and make people who have the privilege uncomfortable when they are. So when someone is uncomfortable about this talk, make them more uncomfortable. I don't really care. Okay. Yeah. You will say, why don't we just all be nice to each other and move on, right? Why don't we just be all so nice? Why do we have to get political all the time? Well, I hope you understand that your ability to also be sick of politics is on its own also a privilege, right? Your privileges are the things that allows you to live a politics-free life. You are less likely, of course, to be a target of bigotry, attack, or deportation. So that's why you don't care. You don't want to go through this. And your safety is simply not at stake. And another thing is you thinking that people like to playing the victim card. That's just simply not true, because it is really hard and exhausting for us much more than it is for you. It is really tiring and annoying that we have to be continuously in this fight. We get bullied all the time for speaking up about these things. But it's concerned to our life and safety, and that's why we are doing this. And if you don't see that, that's simply because of your privilege again. Thank you.
Amer, thank you so much. I am so honored that you, the organizer of last year's Yuruko, close this Yuruko. Thank you. I'm going to ask for another round of applause.
I'm going to do the awkward again. I mean, that was an amazing talk. Thank you so much, Amer. But I'm going to do the awkward again. Did you all have a nice time? Did we? Could you? And I have to say, like, me asking for that, it's not asking that of you for us. You're an amazing community, and each and every one of you being here is so special, and your being here makes the event special. So all of that noise is for all of you here. So thank you so much for being here and for being part of Yuruko 2018.
So as we wrap up, you probably have a question or two. We might answer them. But before we go, we need to give a few more thanks, and share some fun numbers with you.
So first of all, we'd like to thank GitHub again. We had an amazing time at the after. I hope you all did too, but we had an amazing time at the after party last night. It ran long and it ran fun. So thank you, GitHub, and thank you for being here. Thank you so much to Meister. We really could not have done it without them. They took care of all of the very intricate Austrian bureaucracy stuff. Yeah, all of that. They hosted us at their office for our meetings. They had 2 of their employees doing amazing work for us. All of the design stuff is from someone at Meister. So thank you so much to Meister for all of your support as well.
Now we're going to go through our gold sponsors. Please hold your applause until we're done. So thank you to Heroku. Thank you to Cookpad. Thank you to XBAV. And thank you to our silver sponsors. You may now applause.
So this is it, everyone. This was Eurocode 2018.
I cannot believe it's over. It went like that. I don't know about
Not the organizing, the event itself.
So let's talk a little bit about organizing. Let's share some numbers. These were emails sent by us. We sent 1,383 emails. No, this is from like half an hour ago because, you know, we do everything at the last minute.
This also does not include Facebook messages or Twitter DMs or Twitter replies. And I have to say, I was on those accounts, so I'm like, you were all talking to me. There were a lot of messages. Next up, and I'd like to invite did we talk about last year? Did we talk about who was here last year at Euroco? Did we raise our hands for Euroco in Budapest? Could we do that again? Okay. I hope there's someone around you who raised their hand because they can explain to you what you're going to see next. We spent 35 hours on Google Hangouts. And in case you're all wondering how she's doing, this is the dog that won Euroko for Vienna. So those people that raised their hands, they voted because of this. This is why you're here.
We had 6 in-person meetings. Probably didn't mention this, but our team was only part in Vienna. We had 2 wonderful people in Berlin, whom I'm going to ask to come up in a moment. I want to share you some numbers about our core organizing team.
I'm trying to spot if everyone...
No, they're going to come up in a minute. So, fun fact. We had 1 Romanian, this is going to go a little slow, so I'm just going to ask, again, hold applause for a second, please. So we had 1 Romanian, 2 Chileans, 1 German, come on up, 1 Greek, 1 Dutch, and 0 Austrians.
So now you can understand why we needed Meister so much, right? Yeah. Oh, you're taking this. We're very well prepared. 1 unforgettable MC. Flora, could you come up? I mean... You've been up here all day, but you've done such an amazing job, so thank you so much. I think we're going to get a little cramped here. Maybe they want to stand in front of the mountains, or...
Yeah, could our volunteers please come up? All of the ones who are left. Woo. Such a nice behaved audience. I love it. Now, I didn't put up the slide for this, but we also had yes, I didn't put up the slide for this, but we had also 3 Code of Conduct Enforcement Team members. If you would like to come up, please come up.
There he comes. Thank you so much to everyone. We really couldn't have done it without you. We'd also like to give a special shout out to one of the best tweets, I have to say.
So, good evening, folks. It's me, Andrew, again. As you can see, I've done a terrific job in keeping you all well captioned. Please give me another big round of applause.
So for those of you in the back and in the balconies who can't read it, Andrew has replied, "Thanks everyone," cheering and applause. I'm so embarrassed now, thank you. There's no need to be embarrassed, Andrew. Thank you so much for all your hard work.
And thank you for typing that again.
So Euroko would not be what it is without the incredible talks. And we had 13 amazing speakers. You may join us, and we highly encourage that you join us on our somewhat cozy stage. So please come up if you are willing to. You can also move over here. There's more space in front, don't worry. I would also like to add, before we move on to that we had 5 amazing lightning talk speakers as well. So if you'd like to join us as well, please do come up. There's going to be a lot of cheering. It's a good thing.
Sorry to put you on the spot, folks. Yeah. Yeah, fair point. So we had, I can't see the laptop anymore, so I'm going to be looking back. So we had 390 minutes of pretty cool talks. I think you all agree. Some awesome YouTube live streaming videos.
This was so great and so important to us, because this means that all of the people who could not, unfortunately, join us because of something that Amer mentioned, visa restrictions, and all of these unfair things that made it so that people could not join us, at least they were able to take part in the content. So thank you so much to our streaming service, and thank you to all of you, to our speakers, for being able to share yourselves with people all around, I suppose, I hope.
All right, so look, there's a lot of fruit left, and we need you to take it. Please, it's good for you. And now, the number you've all been waiting for. No, but seriously.
Do you all want to stay up here with us? I'm very happy having you all here. But if someone wants to sit, don't feel pressured. We're super happy to have you all here. You're our family.
We're doing photos.
All right. So no, I'm sorry. I take it back. Yeah, we did 219 tasks on Meister Task. And this sounds like a low number, but each of those tasks had checkboxes and at least 5 or 7. So you do the math. There was a lot to do.
let's talk about presentation time. We prepared a lot, believe it or not. So I think this number is mostly accurate. A couple of words from a couple of contests we had here. Now, is there a Dan Alvarez here?
Do you want to join us or do you just want to pay? You please check your email. You have all the details for your wonderful dinner with Mats.
Could you please put up your... Could anybody who participated in the Mame Challenge from Cookpad please raise their hands?
So many times.
Okay. And now leave your hand up if you beat Mats. And could you stand up if you are the winner?
So I have to admit, there was only one sleepless night. And that was at Euroko 2017. The night of the day that we found out that it would be Vienna. And again, that's pretty much how we felt. Fiona is still very present with us.
Here comes my favorite part. So, this is the most innocent tweet I've ever seen in my life. Daniel, one of our team members, is asking, where's the after party at Euroko 2017? This was the night before we knew we were going to win, and Pilar jokingly voted, probably somewhere in Vienna. Let me show you my tweet from the next day when we found out who was going to be hosting Euroko next year. Pilar was more excited than I was. She was just,
I was excited to get back home. Not to deal with the consequences.
And then I had to break out the news to all of my great team members. I'm going to read it out. Hey, Kostas, I hope you're both doing well. So, in a weird turn of events, Pilar and I ended up pitching Vienna at Euroko this year, and we won, so we'll be organizing Euroko next year. I hope to see you there sooner. Now, I don't know what led you to do this, but you volunteered to join the team, and for that, I thank you. Here's Vincent's most innocent message you've ever sent me. He was so young and innocent. Hey, Ramon, any news about organizing Euroko? I'm still available and happy to join you in a meeting soon. Thank you, Vincent. Next up is Laura. Oh, me again. Hey, Ramon, Laura here from Rails Girls. We also met in Budapest, thinking I had forgotten her. I'd be happy to help with whatever you need for Euroko next year. And I'm also getting my company to sponsor.
That's Meister, by the way.
We can chat either here or at the next VNRB if you like. Now, a couple more, just like 2 more statistics. Please bear with me. Now, I'm going to need you to agree or disagree with me. I think we had one cool Euroko 2018. One more.
A couple more, because I would like to say that this cool Euroko 2018 had something amazing. I don't like to make a public spectacle of it, but I just wanted to say that most of our diversity money came from all of you. The biggest pool that helped get more people here and more underrepresented people here came from all of you. So thank you so much for sharing the love and for bringing more people here.
Also, thank you to Travis, CI, and Twilio.
I know we need to do photos, but we need Mats to hang over the gong. So we're going to need to make a little bit of room on stage.
Where's the gong? Is it there?
It's there. Do you want to hand it to,
I'm gonna
to Mats? Okay, you hand it to Mats. So I know you're all wondering. I'm going to use the, oh, all right.
Oh, sorry.
Oh. Yes. So there was one cool Euroko in 2018, and there will be one Euroko in 2019. And I know you're all feeling like I got stopped and asked so many times because only 2 of us know. Wait, where's my other slide? What have you done? Where do I announce it? What happened?
Oh my goodness. I guess we'll need to edit it live.
Okay. That's unfair. He didn't tell me about this. I'll do it. All right.
Bear with us, folks.
It'll happen. Eventually. All right.
All right, so...
Take.
Oh, sorry, yes. Edit.
I'll do it. Oh, it's a master slide.
Let's...
Don't worry. We'll let
Can everybody see? All right,
Oh, let's just.
it's fine.
Yeah. No. Well, it's gonna happen anyway. They're gonna find it out eventually.
Am I starting it?
Yeah, hold it from
Hold it from underneath. That's a pro tip. Okay. No, okay, I will do silent sounding.
Fun fact, only 2 people knew until now.
So I just wanted to say, wait, what happened to the? What have you done? Can we have the?
You're good.
All right. Are you sure? All right. So we wanted to say, see you there.
See you in Rotterdam.
And as Fiona rung in our Dachshund mix, rung in last year's, end. This is Möre. This is Floor's Dachshund. So I think, if you want to have a successful pitch for Yuruko, you're going to have to probably get a Dachshund. So see you all there. Thank you so much to everyone for being here.
But wait. Floor, you need to be...
There's Floor.
You need to be dressed accordingly.
This is giant.
She likes Maggie.
For being an RMC.
Thank you so much for being RMC and for taking on next year's Yuruko. So thanks everyone again. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being the wonderful people that you are and for making our community amazing.
And thanks for the team.
Hey, sorry folks. For you that are still here, forgot to mention a couple of things. First off, speakers, go get your goodie bags. And attendees, go get your goodie bags. Folks, there's still socks. And stickers and other junk. Good stuff. Go for it.